Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. This fall, gear up for get-togethers and game days with Safeway's Game Time 4x event. Earn 4x reward points on essentials, from chicken wings to chips and dips. Safeway has everything you need to cheer on your local team at Safeway.com or in the app.
You may run into issues if you try to go leaf peeping in Georgetown, west of Denver. The number of people there got so out of control over the weekend that the local sheriff's department had to temporarily shut down access to all non-residents just to end the gridlock. They say they could do it again if traffic gets backed up. So if you're headed to see the leaves this weekend, maybe consider another mountain pass besides Quinella. I'm Haley May. Coming up, a major cultural festival that usually brings artists from all over Latin America to Denver is having to pivot because of stronger immigration policies. Now,
folks that maybe wouldn't have anything to worry about are worried.
Then, perhaps the biggest recall ever in Colorado's weed industry, and it could be a sign of wider worries.
You have low margins, you're making less money, you have less to invest in the state-of-the-art safety protocols.
And what the Rockies manager has to say about their worst season in franchise history.
Down the road, we're going to look back on this, and it will act as a great learning experience for us, and we'll remember it as a place where we never want to be again.
It's Tuesday, September 30th. Here's the news in Colorado today. Every other year, you can check out music, art, fashion, and conversations in Denver that are meant to connect the state to countries throughout the Western Hemisphere. It's an event called the Biennial of the Americas, and the next one's coming up in a few weeks. But Denverites Kiara DeBari's learned that this year's event will look a little different because of the U.S. crackdown on immigration. Kiara, what did organizers tell you about those changes?
This year, the event is going hyper-local. So it'll focus on artists already here in Colorado, and that's because many participants from South America and elsewhere are worried about entering the country. Executive Director Flora Jane DiRenzo told me that getting artist visas for the event has always been a bit of a challenge logistically, but the current political climate has made it even more so, and they're having to kind of get creative with who's involved.
How are they doing that?
Let me give you an example. So Bobby Lefebvre is the state's former poet laureate. He's noticing differences in the event and the community as a whole.
And that fear that we are experiencing has impacted just about everything, right? Like folks that maybe wouldn't have anything to worry about are worried.
He's leading an interactive sensory exhibit focused on mezcal. And to ensure the event still had voices from Mexico, where mezcal was born, his team traveled to Oaxaca and brought the spirits and video interviews with the distillers back, so they can still be featured without being present.
We're centering the land, the lineage, and the labor of the people who make it as sort of an altar to the process and the sacred nature of the mezcal.
The Biennial of the Americas has been happening since 2010. It prides itself on being a way to share information and art, but also to have discussions about problems facing the world. Are organizers planning to change that this year?
No, they plan to address what's happening here and the ways people feel threatened by ICE. There are going to be people there specifically to help others understand their rights when it comes to immigration enforcement. The list of speakers hasn't been announced yet, but DiRenzo told me that they're not shying away from those conversations.
Okay, and how are organizers going to pull off a festival that's about creating connections across continents with fewer people from other countries in attendance?
Well, so for one, they're focusing on people already in the community, like Denver artist Jonathan Says. He's participating by bringing together 20 local artists to create a candy shop centered on joy.
I'm just hoping that there's a way through where art still has a purpose, because right now, personally, it feels rather silly. So the silliness is part of the fun and the exploration, but the awareness of the silliness is also super important.
Plus, Executive Director DiRenzo said there are a lot of questions surrounding what might come next for this event and others like it.
The climate right now, from what we're seeing, does lead to some uncertainty in terms of funding culture initiatives like this. And then I think especially like festivals in of themselves are at danger. It does appear to be harder and harder to gain support, and costs have gone up.
And to that point about money, we've seen other things like the Underground Music Showcase and local Pride and Juneteenth events lose funding and sponsors this year too. And I mean, some people are worried that if these kinds of local gatherings disappear, our community might not be able to build as many connections among people from different backgrounds.
Denverite's Kiara Damari, thank you.
You're welcome.
The Biennial of the Americas is scheduled to start in 2 weeks. More than 170 cannabis stores across the state were notified this month that they should recall certain products because of yeasts and mold. But that recall got little attention until CPR's Ben Marcus dug into it. Now he's found issues in the industry that make it more susceptible to safety problems as a whole. Ben, let's start with how this thing might impact customers. Is it clear what products people should avoid?
Yes and no. We know that it's 710 Labs is the manufacturer. They're green buds, so it's the flower, they call it. It's if you bought it in like almost like a pill bottle, it would come with these little green buds, or in their hash-infused pre-rolled joints. 710 Labs is regarded as a premium cannabis producer. People don't think of it as a sketchy fly-by-night type operation, but this is their second recall. Is it clear that products people should avoid? No, and that the state's recall notice gives batch numbers without, in some cases, listing the products by name. In this case, we know that the contaminated weed that's being recalled is partly their Percy Doink's pre-rolled hash-infused joints because the company issued its own recall notice on its website identifying it. Now, experts I spoke with said that the advisory should probably include brand names. It'd be like recalling a General Mills product, but only giving the brand, the lot number rather than saying the brand of cereal or something.
That makes sense to me. So you see this recall as part of a larger trend in the industry. Why is this more than just a one-off?
So when this recall happened, I got messages from people in the cannabis industry who were like, we think this might be the largest recall ever in Colorado history, given the number of stores that were affected. I asked the state. They wouldn't tell me. They wouldn't agree to an interview or answer our questions. So I went back and looked at every health and safety advisory since 2023, and I counted up the number of stores. This year, almost 500 stores have been named in recalls of products that they sell. That's about 3 times the number of stores that were affected by recalls last year.
So is this increase in recalls because there's just more contamination in the products?
I think it's partly that they're looking for more contaminants, things like aspergillus, which is a kind of mold. Aspergillus is ubiquitous in the environment, and so it can be difficult for indoor growers to remove from the product. It's also true that cannabis is cheaper than it's ever been on Colorado's legal market. You had this influx of producers during the pandemic, and they've really crashed the price of cannabis with all that they've grown. That's according to Simon Noble. He co-founded a cannabis packaging company. He said he's not familiar with the specifics of the 710 Labs recall, but he said given the economic environment, he's not surprised that we're seeing issues crop up.
There's, some incentives potentially to cut corners, especially when market suppression has gotten that low.
You have low margins, you're making less money, you have less to invest in the state-of-the-art safety protocols. I also want to be clear here, there's no evidence that cannabis use is leading to widespread sickness in Colorado. Many inside and outside the industry believe that the regulated cannabis products you can buy in dispensaries are the safest cannabis that you can consume. But there are studies to show that things like aspergillus, if somebody had a lung condition or pre-existing issues, if they were to smoke that could be bad for them.
So then what does 710 Labs have to say about this recall in particular?
They did not respond to my request for comment. It's a California company now that owns it, a holding company based in Beverly Hills. On their website, they said that initially passed inspection when it was grown, but it was retested on store shelves. And experts have told me that problems can develop after the weed leaves the production facility, like how it's being transported. Is it climate controlled? Does it use the right packaging? How long is it sitting on the shelves? A lot of stuff can happen between the grow facility and the final sale.
And what's the role of regulators in all of this? Are they just not keeping a close enough eye on everything?
I mean, the industry would say right now that regulators are maybe a little too involved in looking for contaminants, potential contaminants. But safety experts tell me that they're concerned about the voluntary nature of these recalls. And they've asked for data from the state. The state won't give it to them. They want to know, after a recall is issued, just how much of that product is then sold afterwards, given the voluntary nature of all of this.
CPR's Ben Marcus, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can we recall this Rockies season? They wrapped up their final game on a cloudy San Francisco Sunday this past weekend with a 4-0 loss against the Giants. Arlo was there and he interviewed the team's manager about what comes next.
I want you to picture a sea of people cheering, wearing black and orange, and rooting for the Giants. It was the final loss in a season that almost made the Rockies the worst team in modern baseball history, just too shy of the 121-loss record. The close call wasn't something that escaped the team manager.
You know, nobody wants to lose this many games. So the idea is that down the road, we're going to look back on this and it will act as a great learning experience for us, and we'll remember it as a place where we never want to be again.
Warren Schaefer is the Rockies' interim manager. He was brought in May after the team lost 33 of its first 40 games. This is the Rockies' 7th losing season in a row, and the last 2 years have been the worst in franchise history, with 3 consecutive seasons with more than 100 losses. Schaefer spent 19 years in professional baseball, all of them with the Rockies, and he said that for him, improving the Rockies is extremely personal.
My goals is to bring fans out, more fans that love the Rockies, which I know they're out there, because we're winning.
So tell me about that. What are the plans to assure that that is happening in the next season?
Yeah, so assurance is a strong word, but I can assure you that we're going to work hard towards that.
Schaefer spoke about better preparing the players and improving the culture. What's interesting, though, is despite the fact that the Rockies can barely win, fans turn out for Coors Field.
First of all, what are your full names?
Leo Michael Leondo.
So how long have you all been Rockies fans?
9 years.
How old are you?
9.
The Rockies games were better attended than half of all MLB games, including from better performing teams like, well, all the other ones, I guess.
I think that fans come, I think there's a lot of fans that come because they love the Rockies. I think and it's obvious, there's a lot of fans that are destination fans. So people come for the beautiful sunset, for the beer. There's a lot of reasons why fans come.
That was definitely true at Coors Field a couple weeks ago, where I met Art Carroll.
I mean, they lose 111 games this year. It's sad. But it's a good day out, drink a beer, eat a hot dog, watch a game. I love baseball. I love baseball.
And fans like Joe Golden, Jesse, and Michael Donato, they have an overwhelming message.
If you root for a team, you got to root for them through the good and the bad.
The voyage has obviously been up and down, but we are true fans through and through because it's always easy to back a winner. So we're going to just stay the course and hope for the best.
Don't be bandwagon fans. Stick through them thick and thin.
The team hasn't said if Schaefer will continue to be the manager next season, but he has a message of his own for the fans.
For the fans listening, I really, really appreciate the support, even in the hard times. We have an exciting young group of players. Come watch them develop. This is a time of growth. And, the fans that stick with us, I think, will look back and say, I remember when this kid was developing, and now he's contributing to a World Series championship team.
A lot of fans blame the team's owners for not investing more. Some are still keeping the faith. Here's Golden again, who falls in both camps.
The owner obviously doesn't want to spend any money to get good pitching, so even many games when we get a lead, the lead evaporates. But I'm still a fan. I still have hopes.
And Golden is not the only one. As lifelong fan Andrew Ray puts it,
Next year's our year. Next year's our year.
so hey, here's to 2026.
Go Rockies!
Happy last day of September. Cooler days are on the way next week, but this week still offers a touch of summer, so enjoy the heat while it lasts. I'm Haley May. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. This fall, gear up for get-togethers and game days with Safeway's Game Time 4x event. Earn 4 times reward points on essentials, from chicken wings to chips and dips. Safeway has everything you need to cheer on your local team at Safeway.com or in the app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.